Welcome to the Call to Harmony, where we explore the inner journey to oneness with self, others, and the divine. Hello, everyone. Tucker and I are excited and nervous for today's. Well, I am. I don't know about Tucker. But we're going to be.
We'll see how this goes, huh?
Yeah. If you don't know yet, we usually just click record and start talking. But we wanted to talk today a little bit about this idea of box making and box breaking, and how that there are often these invisible lines that we draw or create without even knowing it that tend to shape the way that we view the world, people around us, who we're going to trust, people that we fear. And we're just going to kind of do some exploring around this idea of these lines or these boundaries that we create within ourselves. There might be questions of what does it feel like to be inside of these boxes, and what happens when we maybe find ourselves suddenly or unexpectedly outside of the box. And also, what does it require for us when people that we care and love about are maybe still living inside certain boxes that we have outgrown. It's a lot to navigate and figure out. So we'll do some exploring around some of these things.
Yeah. And I appreciate that intro, Savannah, and also appreciate you saying that you're nervous because we're in sensitive territory here, right? We all, it's part of being human, we all carry boxes inside us. And these are boxes that we inherited. These are boxes that we've created to protect ourselves. There's a lot of reasons why we carry these boxes in us. And it's a scary thing when these boxes break. But as part of maturing and adult development, we will have boxes break. And so how do we navigate that? Maybe we start with a story. So I think I referred to this in one of the early episodes of this podcast, but growing up a Latter-day Saint, for me, I just really appreciated and appreciate still the safety that I had growing up. I inherited a lot of boxes that made the world navigatable, right? I could see, okay, this is where I can stay safe by interacting in these type of ways with these people. And here are some standards that are keeping me safe. And I really, really appreciate what it did for me. And those that have listened to the early episodes know about a faith crisis experience that I went through. And here's a snippet that we'll revisit. So I was in my local church leadership called the Bishopric, and it was my job to start a fast and testimony meeting. And in the LDS faith, that's an open mic day where anybody can get up and share their faith. And I got up that day and I needed to start it, but I was like, all kinds of belief boxes had been breaking for me. And so I was just clinging for something that I could assert as a belief. And I was nervous about this. And I got up to the microphone and I was like, okay, so I'm doing all this research on early church history, and it's way more complex than I ever thought it was. And this is the belief that I was able to assert at the time. But I believe that God can help me do something that feels impossible. And that's when I ended. And I went and sat down feeling good that I'd been authentic, right? And just after that, prominent members of the congregation got up to the mic and said things like, there is no reason to doubt our church history. I know with every fiber of my being, I know with everything that I am that it's all true and that we can just trust. And they asserted their beliefs, right? Something that I was wondering about, they were saying, no, there's nothing to wonder about. And then somebody else got up and said something similar. And I was sitting on the stand looking out at the congregation, and all of a sudden, for the first time in my life, I felt outside the box of
Mm.
my community, of my church community. And I know that the people that were speaking and saying these things were trying to help. They were coming from a place of absolute sincerity and genuineness. I know these people well and love them. And but what I was feeling on the receiving end was the message that, Tucker, you are on the outside now. You
Mhm.
don't belong here. If you have questions, if you're wrestling, if you're wondering, and it felt so isolating and scary. I wondered if anybody else was hearing what I was hearing. I wondered if everybody was thinking exactly what I thought the people were thinking. Now,
Yeah.
I can't get in their mind and know exactly what they're thinking. Maybe they were just like, "Oh, there there are people that are nervous right now, and I need to establish some stability and safety here by asserting what I believe." But I felt really miserable and uncomfortable.
Mm.
And Savannah, I don't know if you can relate to all of a sudden feeling like, hey, wait, where did the safety of that box go? But for me, it was a new experience. What once was safe was now threatening.
Yeah.
How about for you? Can you relate?
Yeah, I mean, I think maybe in a similar realm, right? It's like I think just in this church topic of, maybe once feeling very safe, very comfortable for me and for different reasons, right? But that there was once a time where I was like, this is my place. These are my people.
Yeah.
I belong here more than I belong anywhere else. Um, and then through different things, right? Feeling like, wait, this is not my place. These are not my people anymore.
Mm.
Feeling like that, right? Like I've outgrown something that did provide all of that safety, all of this security and community and all of these things. And without really trying to, I outgrew something. And I think like what you talked about, like this is that piece of human development, right? Like this happens just throughout our lifespan where we outgrow things, right? We, as a kid, are told not to touch the stove and not go outside alone or cross the street without our mom or dad or an adult. But obviously, we outgrow that as we get older. We become more aware, we learn, we, develop. And I think the same thing happens in other ways. Spiritually, for me, it happened. And again, we don't really have a say in getting older as a kid, right? It just happens, time goes on. And I think same with this. I outgrew a box that I didn't actually anticipate outgrowing. It just kind of happened. And that's probably the more scary part for me is that I I didn't I didn't choose this.
Yeah.
I wanted to stay in my box. I loved the box that I had created and it really was safe for me and I feel a bit exposed now because that
Yeah.
box is breaking. So,
Yeah. And I think you really said it well right there. I outgrew the box that I had created.
mm,
Now, I don't want to mistake what we're saying for a box outside of us, right? I was experiencing myself being outside of my own box
mm,
that I had inherited slash created, right? I had agreed with this box. I had held it. But some people listening might be like, wait, are you guys saying that you're going to outgrow the church? You're going to outgrow organizations. You're going to outgrow
mm,
institutions. You're going to outgrow public, like communities and things like that. And let me distinguish something here. What we're talking about is the boxes inside us. This goes way beyond the realm of religious experience,
mhm,
but these boxes that we build they're part of being human and apply to so many different things. We've got the boxes around political ideas and ideals, right?
mm,
We've got boxes around maybe where we've grown up, maybe I grew up in Idaho, and there was certain ways that people would talk about people from other states. Maybe there's boxes people that grew up in a big city that maybe inherit some boxes about rural and vice versa. People
Mm,
in the countryside might inherit some boxes and ways of thinking about people in big cities. And this is happening just all the time, all around us, right? Even
mm,
within our families, within our friend groups, within our communities, we're passing boxes and inherited ideas along to each other all the time.
yeah.
And so we've been using the example of faith, but the the call to harmony and the journey to harmony is the journey to see all of our boxes and learn
Mm,
to open them. And every time we open, more light, more love gets in, and we are able to be our truest selves
yeah.
and be free. Really, this is the work of freedom,
Mm,
being free in the world to go where we need to go and to be free to love and to be full of light no matter who we come across and whatever boxes we might encounter in them.
yeah.
I still participate in church. I still grow a lot from that participation. It it helps me work with my own inner boxes a lot to go to church and to be in those spaces. So, to outgrow a box, and what we're talking about is to outgrow ourselves in a way, our way of seeing. And it's super scary. It's like a crab growing its exoskeleton, and all of a sudden it doesn't have the protection that it had before. And it feels exposed to predators and threats that before
Mm,
it didn't feel exposed to or threatened by. And so let's make sure we're keeping the focus on us because there is a desire sometimes when we feel like we're outside of a box that somebody else is holding or that a community is holding. And we just want to rage against those boxes and be like,
blame, blame, blame.
yeah, blame, 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 destroy all boxes.
Mm,
And that's part of the growth too, and part of the challenge as well. And so Um, maybe I'll tell another part of this story. Well, I kept going back to church and I was still in the leadership of that local congregation, but I started to experience something outside the box that I hadn't been able to experience inside of it. And I would sit there on the stand and somebody would get up and give a talk like I had often heard. Like maybe a young couple gets up and they're talking about, "Hey, we just moved in to this and we'll be in this congregation now. And so we have 2 kids. Life is amazing. And we know that if you do what God wants you to do, He's just going to give you all the blessings you could ever hope for." And I had probably said things like that in the past myself,
mm,
but I would sit there on the stand and all of a sudden I'd be like, "Oh no, oh no, oh no. There's a person sitting over there that just went through a divorce.
mm,
That probably feels really painful to them. And there's a person over there that's never been married, and that message probably feels isolating to them." And I started to hear messages and see people and experience empathy that I hadn't been able to see here and experience before because I was inside the safety of my box and I
mm,
couldn't see beyond it. So, church, even if a message wasn't directed toward, you know, somebody that was struggling with their belief, but I could see boxes because I was outside
mm,
my former box. And something that has come to me is, well, maybe I needed to be marginalized before I could see the marginalized.
mm,
There's some type of vision and empathy and ability that is a gift that comes with feeling like we're outside of our previous box.
yeah.
It
Mm,
comes at a price, though. as we've said, right, Savannah?
Yeah, it's interesting how like yeah, the hurt that you experience from your own feeling like you're outside of the box or you're in the margins or whatever it might be, that hurt does tend to like multiply because all of a sudden you are exposed to the hurt of other people. Like it's crazy how it really is just like these like scales
Yeah.
fall off our eyes of like, oh my gosh, I have not seen this hurt, right? Or if the walls of our boxes, right? All we've seen is the same four walls and now they're down and all of a sudden we see, everything that's outside. But it's tricky like how do you remain I'm just like, okay, so is the goal to just not be a box maker anymore? Like how do you do that? Because in my mind that's the end goal is like, okay, we should uh not make boxes because the breaking of a box is like open. Yes, it's uncomfortable and painful and scary and all of the things. But I think what's, on the outside of this broken box is like we've talked about love and compassion and this ability to see people that we haven't seen before. And that feels more important to me than having maybe some safety. Sometimes I say that out
Mm.
loud. I don't know that I truly feel that all the time. I'm like, I'll take the safety. But, like, how do you like you said, like, these boxes are again, we made choices and we kinda built these lines. There's some that's inherited just because the nature of humans is like, "Oh, yeah, let's" like, there's these lines and these boundaries that we create for good reason because of the safety piece, but I don't know, how do you remain I don't know, is the goal to remain outside of a box? What are your
What a
thoughts?
great question. Well, this is a humbling topic. Let me evade that question. I'm just kidding. Not evade it, but let me back up from it for a second.
Mm,
Um, First, you're seeing the benefits of breaking a box in your question, because when we break boxes, that's when light gets in.
mm,
That's when love floods in. I remember, like, after the my box had broken, like, driving through my neighborhood and seeing people that, they were outsiders to me before, and being like, "Oh, man, I wanna go talk to them." I felt drawn toward them, and I noticed that maybe I had been part of maybe a mechanism of hurt, and now I wanted to, like, help heal divides. I wanted to build bridges to people that before I had been retracting from.
mm,
So, absolutely, we wanna break the boxes that are causing hurt, um, that are keeping us from feeling, from connecting, from loving
yeah,
people. And this is tricky because, uh, our boxes the goal isn't just to break boxes as fast as we can and to destroy all structure,
mm,
right? But maybe to start to become aware, and as we are ready, know that life, God, the universe, love will show us the boxes that we hold.
mm,
But also be patient with ourselves, because we are all holding many boxes that we don't even realize we're holding, and they're there for good reason. And sometimes it's not time to break out of a box before we're able, before we're mature enough, before we're at a place where we're able to um, function without the safety and security of the box. So there's balance in all of this, right?
mm,
Um, and let's talk about what might happen when we break out of a box. We might turn toward other people that seem to be holding the box that we used to have and be like, "What is your deal?" Like,
Break the
how can
box.
yeah. Like,
Yeah.
why don't you break the box? And very quickly, we can start thinking of them as closed-minded, of heartless,
Mm.
but you can probably hear even what I'm saying. What am I doing as I'm thinking of people that way?
You're
I'm
building
creating
another box.
I'm building another box, aren't I?
Mm.
And what can't get in when I build a box? The light and the love that I want to have and to hold toward all people.
Mm.
So this is a really humbling, really challenging thing. Um, what we often want to do is join a cause, form a group to break boxes that are out there. But another challenging part of this is how well does it work to try to break somebody else's box that they're holding?
Mm.
Have you noticed? In fact, let's all take a moment to just think back to times when other people tried to break our boxes. I mean, countless times before that day in church, people had tried to help me see outside the box I was holding. Countless times, so many times.
Yeah.
I'd been such a great box boy, box holder, I don't know, that many times people had tried to help me reach outside of that and see outside of that, but I wasn't ready, I couldn't,
Mm.
and so I would be defensive, I would label them, I would, think of them as unsafe and dangerous because they were trying to push me outside of that safety, and so I just entrenched more.
Mm.
And so there's something really, uh, really delicate about this. Yeah, we might be desiring to break boxes from a really good place. We might want to stop the hurt and harm that is happening in the world because of the boxes that people are holding.
Mm.
But how do those boxes break? There's there's an Aesop's fable that I love. I think it's called The North Wind and the Sun. And the North Wind and the Sun are talking to each other and arguing about the north wind is arguing that it's stronger than the sun. And so the sun sees a man walking with his coat on and he says, okay, we're going to see who's stronger. And so the north wind says, okay, whoever can get his coat off wins. And so the north wind blows this cold, cold wind at this man.
Mm.
And of course, well, welcome my dog barking in the background. I don't know if you can hear that. We're gonna break the box that excludes him from this podcast right now. But the north wind is like, I am going to just blow this coat right off of him. And so it gets the coldest, strongest wind it can
Mm.
and starts to blow as hard as it can. And what does the man do with his coat? He wraps it tighter around himself
Mm.
to guard himself from the cold wind. I'm gonna pause because apparently my dogs are being tortured. 1 second.
Did you put the
Okay,
dogs in a box?
there's all kinds of irony right now because I'm back and I had to put the dogs in their little kennel, which is a box.
So everyone stay in your boxes.
But, I mean, it's just bringing me back to this humble place. Like, we can't be dogmatic about this, that there's never, a time and a place for a box. Like, as humans, sometimes we need our protection and we have to do that. Now I'm, like, waxing fancy about the dog analogy, but there are times when the boxes are protective and needed, and we
Mm.
need to, like, be careful about becoming ragers and box breakers.
Mm.
There's something sacred about our own ability to manage our own boxes.
Yeah.
The only boxes I really have access to are mine.
Hmm. Yeah. Makes me
So,
think about that, like, when people say you point one finger at someone, you've got three pointing back at you.
yeah.
That just is I just keep that thought or analogy has kept coming up into my mind of like, yeah, there's something in us that so badly wants to do this for other people, right? And again, the intention might be good of like, oh, I want light and love to flood into your box. Like I want it to open up and to crack and like to experience these things. But like you said, that analogy or that story, right? Well, you didn't actually finish. The wind blows, right? And
Oh,
it's
I didn't
cold and cold
finish?
and cold.
Oh my
No,
goodness.
let's finish
Sorry.
he wraps
W
tighter in his coat.
ah, and so the wind blows until it can't blow anymore, and the man is all bundled up in his coat, and then the sun is like, "Okay, it's my turn."
Hmm.
And the warm sun comes out, and obviously you know where this is going, but the man feels the warmth of it, relaxes, and just removes his coat and enjoys the warmth of the sun. So I love the truth that and we might say it this way, is that you can better get someone to remove their coat from the warm sun than a cold wind.
Hmm.
And yeah, so many times I've tried to get people to change from force.
Yeah.
And maybe the real power in this world is by loving our enemies
Hmm.
and by blessing those that curse us, and
Yeah.
by even somebody that's putting me in a box, that I sense that there's some judgment or push from. Can I love that too? Love that
Hmm.
person too?
Yeah.
And so this is this is way easier said than done, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think we're in the deepest part of in the most challenging part of the teachings of Jesus and the example of Gandhi, uh, people that were able to meet um, other people's boxes with love and
Hmm.
make major transformation because of it.
Yeah. Well, and it's interesting to think like, I mean, there's got to be a balance, right? Once we become aware that there are boxes and there are lines, maybe we have more of a say, right? Of breaking our own boxes or cracking them or opening them up so love and, light can come in. But when I think of maybe the first time I was aware that a box was breaking, I feel like I was not intentionally doing that. Something just happened. Well, probably a series of events, right? And different experiences, different people coming into my life, whatever it might be. I wasn't fully aware of the box or that it was breaking until all of a sudden I was exposed to this light and to, these other experiences. And I think that, well, I'm curious, and maybe my question is there, like, how much control do we have of kind of breaking our own boxes? Because so far for me, my boxes have just they've broken on their own. Does that make sense? Like
Yeah.
I didn't have a say in this box breaking that was so safe and secure and I felt so, a part of, you know, this group of people. But then as it was opened, I mean, again, I didn't really feel like I was like, it's time to break this box, like there was
Right.
no intention necessarily on my end. Like it just kind of naturally happened. So is there a balance or where's the line between the boxes that will naturally break on their own and also the ability that we have to look at ourselves and find those boxes that, maybe we want to break? Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's a great question. I wonder if see how this sounds to you. I wonder if we kind of need grace to break our first box for us.
Mm, yeah.
We need, if life needs to bring us, if God or the divine, the universe, however you couch it, needs to bring us our first box breaking
Mm.
so that we start to learn, oh, I don't quite see everything as it is. I see
Yeah.
things as I am. And then hopefully that brings us to a place of humility where we can become curious about what else is there. And maybe without that first grace,
Mm.
that first that first
Natural
divine,
breaking. Yeah.
yeah, natural breaking, we wouldn't be able to like take ownership of our journey and then try to move deeper into harmony
Mm.
purposefully. Because we can discover our own boxes. Oftentimes we don't want to, right? Because
Yeah.
of the discomfort of the first time. But once we start to taste that love and light that starts to flood in, we might actually start to develop a hunger for it.
Yeah.
And but that doesn't mean it's easy from then on, right? Because
Mm.
these boxes are held in place by our nervous system. Maybe that's a weird way to say it, but the reason why I didn't go outside the box is because I felt so uncomfortable, uh, reading things that went against the way that I saw the world, or talking to people that had different perspectives, and I would
Mm.
have this discomfort come up in my body. It was my nervous system saying, "No, no, 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 unsafe." And so the boxes that we hold, we have like emotional and responses in our body to.
Yeah.
And it was interesting because I grew up thinking that that discomfort, that was God telling me, no, that's a bad person or that's a
Mm.
bad thing. And so I read it that way and it kept me in that safety, right? But once I learned that no, that discomfort is your nervous system giving you warnings that you're hitting a boundary there.
Mhm.
And uh crossing those boundaries can be really scary, but it's the work of transformation, right?
Yeah.
It's why we see Jesus going and sitting with a leper, not just sitting with him, but touching a leper, right?
Yeah.
Or eating with the publicans and the sinners. Is Jesus didn't hold these boxes in him that the community had. He had already gone through this process of opening and being able to be in the world in a way that he wasn't holding the boxes around him, and it was just so crazy for others to see that it
Yeah.
caused their own nervous systems to rise up, and there's even a story in Luke 4. I don't know if you know the Luke 4 story, Savannah, of when he goes, of course you do, you're brilliant, but here's the story in Luke 4 when he goes, to Nazareth, to his local congregation, and, he stands up to teach, and then anyway, we could go into the nitty-gritty of it, but I'll just get to the point of it where he just, uh, goes outside the box in a big way. Everybody's staring at him, and he says, um in the days of the widow of Zarephath, there were many widows in Israel, but God didn't send Elijah to any of them except for this widow who was outside of Israel. And then he said, in the days of Naaman, the the Syrian, there were many lepers in Israel, but God only healed Naaman the Syrian. Basically, what he's saying is like God works outside of this Israel box.
Yeah.
And if you'll remember what they did is they rose up and tried to throw him off a cliff
Mm.
because everybody's nervous system kicked up and they're like, "No, like this is against God."
Yeah.
And Jesus is trying to show, no, actually God's work is box breaking or box opening.
Yeah.
This is the grace that he's trying to lead us to accept rather than exclude.
Mm.
And it's just so hard for us to see,
Yeah.
um, but
Mm.
for good reason, it's hard for us to see.
Yeah. Which I think, again, it's that I think the underlying is that the boxes are safe. right? Like you
Yeah.
said, like the discomfort that you once felt, you were like, this is God telling me that's bad, or that person's bad, or this thing is bad, or whatever it is, right? We are all so wired for safety,
Mhm.
and the boxes provide that. And so it is so, and again, it makes sense that it's tied to our nervous system and that our nervous system will respond if we feel like that safety is threatened. Because that's what our nervous system is there for, right? Is this like protection piece that can warn us and send, signals and alarms and whatever to keep us safe and alive. But again, what's outside of that box, once we maybe have our first box broken or opened, we realize that it's actually, again, it's uncomfortable, but we realize that the safety is not like threatened in the way that maybe we once thought that it would be if that box
Mhm.
was broken.
Yeah.
But again, it's so much easier to say that than to be like, let's break all my boxes.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'll keep
Right.
them.
Yeah. And there is patience with ourselves on this
Mm,
journey. We need to let ourselves, give ourselves grace, not just our current selves, but our past selves, and look back and say, yeah, Tucker, that box was so helpful. It
mm,
held me, it gave me safety, it gave me belonging.
yeah.
And I'm so grateful that that box isn't there anymore.
Mm,
And so my current practice with this is, and it's really challenging, but it is noticing when my nervous system kicks up because I know I'm at the boundary of a box,
mm,
especially toward other people. If there's somebody that I'm having hard feelings toward, that I'm wanting to exclude, that's not in my inner circle, but in my out group, not in my in group, but in my out group.
mhm,
Um, and so the work, which is the hardest work I think that Jesus ever pointed to, and w- um, that has been pointed to by prophets and sages and good people everywhere.
mm,
It's the work of love and of opening
yeah.
and of courageously moving beyond that discomfort.
Mm,
So, what if we did a little practice here, Savannah,
let's do it.
of working with our boxes? Okay, let's take a moment to settle in. You might even, after this conversation, your nervous system might always be like, whoa, this is already very uncomfortable. I don't know if we want to go deeper into this. If it's
Yes.
not time for you, pause it, come back, or don't come back, whatever. Just trust yourself to move into this at your own pace. But I'll invite you to close your eyes if you're in a place or space where you can close your eyes. Get in a position where you can be alert and comfortable at the same time. And let's just go ahead and check in with our bodies. Just notice how it's feeling to be in the body right now. Take a few breaths to become more still and more present with the body as it is. Notice any physical pains or aches or discomfort. Just welcome them, allow them to be there. We're not trying to push them away, but we're doing the work of opening and allowing and accepting. So turn to your emotions, your feelings. Notice what emotions and feelings are here right now. You might take a moment to name them, to become curious about them, welcome them, knowing that this work of love and acceptance and opening is the work of going toward our feelings, going through the door of discomfort, as we've talked about, and allowing whatever is to be here with us. And now for this practice, I'll invite you to consider, let's take an individual, or it might be an organization, or it might be a recent experience that brings up discomfort for you. Let's take something that's not major, that's not at the level of trauma, but that's at the level of discomfort, maybe a 3 through 5 on a scale of 1 to 10. And think of a recent discomfort that came up for you. If it's a person that comes to mind, or a situation, or an organization, just imagine it with enough detail so that you can feel your nervous system start to respond a little bit. Maybe those boundaries come up. And notice where you feel that in your body. And from a place of just observing and noticing, just notice with detail the sensation. Does it feel harsh? Is it a vibration? Is it a shock? Does it feel, is there a temperature to it? Is there a heat or a chill to it? Does it feel like electromagnetic in some way? How does this sensation that's coming up through your nervous system, how do you experience it in your body? And then rather than turn to the stories that our mind starts to tell about the person or the organization or something outside of us, let's stay inside and do the inner work of accepting the feeling, accepting the sensation. See if you can allow yourself to stay in a place of curiosity, a place of openness, and go more deeply into the feeling. Take the light of your consciousness into it. And see if you can just sit with it. Allow it to be there. We might even thank the nervous system, thank the feeling for trying to keep you safe, for trying to create a space of security for you. And as you open up to the sensation, see if you can notice any shifts that start to happen as you truly open up and welcome it. What changes? You may feel a modulation in the intensity of the sensation, or you might feel it move to a new space in your body, or you might feel it dissolving. Whatever is happening, welcome that new experience. And see if you can sense any openings, any light getting in, any compassion getting in, any love getting in. If there are any openings, see if you can allow them to grow. Welcome the light, the love, the peace. And allow those divine sensations to flow. And if you're not sensing that love, that light, that opening, that peace, it's okay. Continue to stay with compassion with the nervous system, with the difficulties. You might even say a message like, I'm okay to hold you, to be with you. Thank you for protecting me. And it's okay if you have to come back to this at another time, if you need to step away or take a break from it, because this is challenging work. And if you want to stay with this, feel free to pause the recording. And let's go ahead and wrap up this practice by just thanking the body, thanking the nervous system, thanking everything for being as it is, and thanking yourself for taking some time to do this inner work, to open up, to work with the boxes that protect you, and allow them to do what they're doing, and allow yourself to open and move forward at the right time, at the right pace. And you can open your eyes and see if you can come to this moment with openness, acceptance. Savannah, that's challenging stuff, this working with our boxes, working with the things that have been trying to protect us for so long. So everybody, thanks for doing this. Savannah, do you have any thoughts, anything that you want to add at the end of this?
I mean, I think I just feel this every single time that we do a practice, like this underlying, just like let it just make space for whatever it is that I'm feeling. And that's like just doing that can soften, you know, whether it's the actual sensation or decrease the intensity or whatever it might be. Yeah, just allowing space for ourselves and for our feelings and our thoughts. Like just that alone can do so much in bringing me into a more harmonious state or pushing me closer to harmony. And that part is, I mean, it is hard work. It's hard to like just slow down enough to allow yourself to like look at what you're feeling. But for me at least, I feel like that it comes more naturally. Like I don't have to force it as much to be like, why are you here? You know, like I can very quickly be like, oh, I see what you're trying to do. I see that you're trying to protect me. I see that you're, you know, like your intention for existing is this protection and safety piece almost all the time for me at least. And just acknowledging that and being like, oh, I see that you're here to help me. It's like all of a sudden things soften inside and it's
Yeah.
like, you're going to be okay. You know, it's just that we just don't give our emotions or our thoughts space to exist. And that makes them want to be louder and more intense. And that is scary. It freaks me out.
Yeah.
So this idea of box breaking and kind of exploring that and experiencing that is also this tied to this idea of like finding inner freedom and allowing ourselves the space and allowing that light and that love, right, to influence us in a way that frees us, maybe in a way that we hadn't felt freed before. Just allowing, I think, time to slow down and to acknowledge them and let them have their space pushes me closer to harmony. So thank you for the practice.
Yeah. Awesome, Savannah. Who doesn't want to be more free, right? There's something in our souls that just calls out for it, isn't there?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm gonna like bring up a graphic on the screen. This is just our podcast logo, our little graphic that comes with it. I don't know if people have looked closely at it, but podcast, The Call to Harmony, here has this little Russian nesting doll set, but after 4 of them are broken open, you can see a little clear piece there. And this illustrates this work of breaking the boxes in us is the work of letting the light come in.
Mm.
and it's a really challenging work. So, but it's really, really worth talking about and investing in, because this is really ultimately the path to harmony, is breaking the boxes that are inside of us. Yeah, thanks for being with us, everybody. This was a challenging topic for today. I even experienced my nervous system during the conversation, um, helpfully warning me of borders and things. So we hope this is helpful, and we hope you'll continue with us along this path to harmony.
Yep.
Thanks.
Thanks. Thank you for listening, and we hope you will join us next time on The Call to Harmony.